episode is really meant to help you walk through some of the free resources you, as the listener, that would definitely need to dive deep into the episodes. One, because I'm using Human Design Report. Now, why Human Design, right? It's a very practical, tactical tool as a leader to help you understand your journey, to gain that clarity, right? To gain the confidence that you're seeking in your next leadership role, the impact that you want to leave. You know you're out. You know in the current role that you are as a leader, you are deeply not fulfilled. And you know you have built this corporate identity and you're so scared about what next. Now, I have my favorite client of mine, Jodie Sherman, and I really believe that, if Jodie can share her journey on what has been the biggest breakthrough with human design and how it has helped as Jodie, you are starting you, and people listening to this will also download a free report, and they will then, as I walk through the episode, they will reflect. It will help them transform their inner authority to then match the outer authority of what they want, right? What they deeply desire as they wake up, as their feet hits the ground, right? And what they don't want, to be very discerning about that. And I truly believe human design is the way to go forward, where it is a pathway. It is a pathway. It is a soul frequency code. It literally hits people so differently because it's very personalized. It's very customized to an individual. So I deeply felt that today, that if my client can actually address that, right? That why this resource is so important. And why do they need this to help dive deep into the reflect piece, the transform piece, and to lead boldly, the three pillars of the leadership liberation accelerator. That is what we're talking about in this podcast. And so, with that, I'm going to quickly read about Ignite Her Frequencies. It is a transformational language for women, for leaders. It is a simplified approach to getting clarity on your unique gifts, genius, strengths, and purpose using human design and Gene Keys toolset. So it is deep understanding that the traditional human design and Gene Keys can feel a little bit esoteric, confusing, and requires quite a bit of study and contemplation to even begin to understand how to read your design. So the credit goes to Julie Ciardi, who has created a practical, tactical language for leaders. It is extremely clear in my design, in her design, that she was meant to passionately share a simple, universal, practical approach to human design. Now, I really, in my podcast, I want to take this piece, right, as a certified coach in human design and Gene Keys, as an emotional mastery guide, as a leadership coach. And I want leaders to deeply resonate with your soul, like deeply understand and study them. So it is a tool that will allow you to get immediate clarity on your design, your life's work, and your purpose. Finally, remember, you can weave your human design and Gene Keys in a way that makes sense the minute you read it. No expert reading required. So that's the whole point. You get to be your own student. It's not that you pay for a guru or external person, as a one-time thing. And those papers just sit on your desk. I mean, we've done it all. Energy reading, tarot reading, like business reading, like we have done it all. But this is far, far, far more than that. So, with that disclaimer and credits, I want to kickstart this. Jodie, welcome. Thank you for, saying yes to this.
Thank you, Dina. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yes. So, can
So,
you
yeah,
can you walk the listeners through like why this resource is so important and what has been your biggest breakthrough? Jodie, where you were to where you are now and how I have helped you match that gap with this tool.
yeah. So, Dina, you and I were on a bit of a different path before introducing me to human design, and basically it came about, I think, when sort of 12 months ago. I was working corporate. I was an executive in a aged care organization. I'm clinically based, so I'm a registered nurse by profession, and I've worked in that industry for over 30 years. So it was basically my life. I've educated myself in it, done lots of external. I'm a person who thrives on knowledge and those sorts of things. So anyway, I ended up having a breakdown. Not supported by my executive team and my CEO. It was very traumatic. And I didn't know what I was going to do because that was my life. I'd been in management since I was 24. I'm 55, so that's a long time in
Right.
management and from a very young age. Certainly not executive level management, but managing staff and things. So yeah, I was devastated basically. I wanted to sit in a corner and rock. My whole life had come crumbling down. I was caring for aged parents as well. Yeah, and I just didn't know what to do. And I lasted longer, I think, in that job. I mean, you and I connected and again and started looking at my human design, and that made such a huge difference, a big understanding of what happened and kind of why it happened. And in fact, looking at it made me think it probably should have happened a lot earlier
Right.
because it didn't meet with my needs. So what I mean by that is I was half, it was half meeting. So I'm what I guess Dina will go on throughout the podcast to explain about the different
Yeah.
gene keys and things like that. But I'm a generator and I'm what we call a 5-1. And so I need to be secure in what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And I was secure in my knowledge. I knew what I was doing, but my executive and especially my CEO were questioning my
Right.
knowledge.
Right.
And so the reason I actually lasted a lot longer than I did was because I had a really good team below me. So
Mm-hmm.
part of what my human design is that I need to help people below me to
Yeah.
find out their issues and show them that they
Yeah.
can do more than what they think they can do.
Right.
So I had that below me and they were supporting me. So that was kind of feeding my need of growing others. And
Mm-hmm.
they were not questioning my knowledge, they were thriving on that. So I had them on one side and I had my executive team who none of them had worked in business before or anything
Right.
along those lines.
Yeah.
They didn't have a business head. They were threatened. So I can now see by my knowledge and my get up and go. And so I think had I not had my team below me, who that was kind of satisfying part of my
Yes.
need,
Yes.
I would have probably worked out earlier that this was not for me.
Mm-hmm.
After I had my breakdown, and it took me months of trying to, psychology appointments, doctor's appointments, all of those sorts of things, to get me on the track. It probably took me 6 months to actually
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
able to talk about what happened
Yes.
without the tears and
Yeah.
the
And
emotion, and
really
to actually
emotionally connected with that. Yeah.
absolutely
Like
like
you
it
deeply struggle, the struggles were real. The pain was felt deeply because it was a breakdown where you were completely withdrawn from anything that was social connections, you were withholding. It just literally felt like, who are you after this? Right?
absolutely,
And that pain is so real because as you say this, what I'm reflecting back is you were that true mama bear for your team, like literally
yeah,
wanted to support them, give you 100%, but also deeply you knew that you are going back to work, working for someone, and you're not even fulfilled. You're not your own boss,
yeah,
right? And it was dreading as you hit your feet to the ground that it just feels like another Groundhog Day, and you're going back into that office, literally where there is no fulfillment, a deep
yeah.
impact that you could leave from that side of like your leadership in the current role, right? Is that right, Jodie?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely spot on. And so I took a lot of time out for myself and I did some work on myself. I'd been so busy. I was basically on call 24/7. I was doing emails at 1 o'clock in the morning. So as you say, Dina, when I had the breakdown, everything, I lost my identity
Yeah.
because I had put so much time and effort into what I did that I
Hmm.
didn't know what I
Yes.
was going to do.
Yeah.
And I was studying at that time because I'd had the sense I needed to get out. And I was studying my graduate diploma in cosmetic nursing and injectables, loving it, but not again, still missing something,
Something
not
is still
totally
not
fulfilled.
clicking. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, I was enjoying it, but it just wasn't it.
There.
Um,
Yeah. The spark
and
was still
so,
not there. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And then part of that, as I was going through, and that I looked at it and thought, I cannot work. I cannot be an employee. I am not a good employee. I
Mm,
had owned my own businesses when I was younger. I had a community nursing service in my
yeah.
early 30s. And then that morphed into a registered training organization, which was a national company with $1 million contracts with our
Yeah.
federal government
Wow.
here in Australia.
Yeah.
So lots of things.
Right.
Um, and I loved that because it was my vision. I had
Yes.
staff under me that I was nurturing. So it was really a positive thing for me.
Right.
Life happens, that business didn't continue. But when I was able to take time out for myself and
Yeah.
just sit with everything that had happened, I realized, as I just said, that I'm not a good employee.
Hmm.
Unless I can make the decisions,
Yeah.
forget it.
Right.
Um,
Or
so
if
I
your
decided that
authority is questioned, right?
it is,
Despite
that's
of the
right.
wealth of knowledge you have, or despite of the decades of experience you've had, right? So
Yeah.
again, your design and it just like 5'1", it just like
Yep.
speaks so much about that. So yeah.
Yeah. So every day I was having my authority questioned by executive. I was having roadblocks put in my way. Um, and so while I had time to sit and reflect on everything that had happened, although it was like just soul destroying, basically, is what I would say, it was almost like the death of a person. I had to go
Mhm.
through the grieving process
Yeah.
to get out the other side. And I had to let myself do that. I
Right.
had to stand in the shower and I had to cry
Yeah.
and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But as I said, what I realized that I needed to go back into self-employment. I
Yeah.
needed to be my own boss. I needed to know that the knowledge I had was not going to be questioned, was
Right.
actually going to be valued.
Yes. And that's the deep
And
impact you wanted to step into the
yeah,
next leadership role, the next growth in your career, or even at the personal
yeah,
level, where you feel like you're in control, where you feel like you're living impact and you're leading by service. And it just feels
that's
like
right.
this work, this even overachieving, this type of work just feels really good. It's not a hustle culture anymore, right? It's
No,
not questioning your authority, but you had to go through that transformation with emotional mastery, with like healing, like you said, so many appointments. And, we were seeing each other as well from
yeah,
time to time. And it was the
yeah,
deepest transformation of inner authority that you have to go to now, feeling that outer authority where you
yeah.
feel like this, the standalone leader who's so bold and who can advocate for yourself for something that you deeply are passionate about. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it took, I mean, we're talking 12 months now,
Yes, yes.
since all of this happened. It was early January. So yeah, it's taken a long time for me to get where I am. I've put a lot of time and effort into myself.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, so I've got to the point where yes, I know that I need to be self-employed. Now, whether that's at the moment, what I'm looking at as we've talked about, is contracting. So
Yeah.
contracting out my knowledge and my skills.
Yes.
Uh, so yeah, but
So,
therefore,
yeah,
yeah, I
go
get
ahead,
to do it
Jodie.
in my terms. Yeah,
Yes, I love that. So, question, how is human design helping you? So, we've talked about your journey where you were to now,
yep,
right? It's like such beautiful
absolutely.
transformation. But I see that the spark is on. Now there is physical transformation, like you're glowing, you feel confident, you're bold, and there is clarity. I mean, there is clarity, such a huge piece out of chaos, out of confusion, right? So,
Yeah.
as you're inspiring the listeners, question why human design? Because leaders are very skeptical. Let's be honest, like, oh, this is great, this has worked for Jodie, but is it going to work for them, right? Could you address that
Yeah.
piece? Because you know, I believe that you at some point probably felt the same way as to what is this so complex, or, how is it worth it? Do I need to study this again? Do I need to understand this? Would this help me with my next leadership growth? So, can we address that, Jodie, for our listeners? Because
Yeah.
this has truly helped you as some sort of confirmation for what you've been through, and now it's like wisdom or a blueprint for your next pathway in the next leadership role and the impact that you want to create.
Yeah. So yeah, Dina, pathway is a really good word. Because yes, when you first introduced me to human design and I saw what it looked like for me, it was
Yeah.
the really big, oh, aha moment. This makes sense.
Yes. Right.
This is why I am who I am. And this is why I can't change it. It's in my genes, it's innate.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was good. It was really exciting initially to read um, the basic information
Yeah.
about my gene keys, about my human design. And then so we looked at that initially, and we talked
Right.
about that till I had a really good understanding of what where that fits in and why that works for me. And then as we sort of dig deeper into other parts of my human design,
Yeah.
and you walked me through it all. So yes, it is can be really overwhelming when you initially look at all the
Right.
different genes and what it does and things like
Yeah.
that. But what you did to help me was to actually just look at certain things and how it relates to me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
having a great understanding of leadership and the impacts and those sorts of things and working with me enabled you to point me in the right direction. As I
Yes.
was sort of humming and hawing and almost stamping my feet and saying no to myself and saying, no, 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 even though my human design was saying, you need to do this.
Mhm.
So you need to sit and you need to wait and you need to think about it until you
Mm.
have clarity. And when
Yeah.
you have clarity, you will know. And that is exactly what happened. I
So
wasn't sure what I
beautiful.
was doing, and the human design said, sit and wait with it. Don't rush it. It will
Yeah,
come to
so
you.
important. Yeah. Can you
And
repeat that?
yes,
Don't rush it,
don't
because
rush it.
the breakthroughs can come overnight if you allow, if there is patience, if there is repetition, if there's consistency, and more so, the important point that you pointed out, you don't need to know all of it. But if there
No,
is someone, through this podcast, like it's me walking you through these important centers, right? So to
yeah,
help you reflect, to help you transform to that next leadership role, and to help you lead boldly so there's this physical transformation. Would you agree, Jodie? This feels like a illumination. Doesn't it feel like, like there's that transformational spark back again?
absolutely. Absolutely, definitely. That spark is definitely there. Our last call that we had, I came off it and I was ready to go. It was really positive, and I had been holding back, putting it out there, what I was wanting to do,
Yeah.
and thinking, oh, maybe people, that whole self-questioning, that self-doubt, maybe
Yeah.
people won't accept what I want to do. They'll
Yeah.
say
Or
they'll
am I
poo-poo
ready?
it.
Do I know enough?
That's
All the
right. Do I
questions.
know enough is the big thing. And that's
Yeah.
part what I found out is part of my human design
Yes.
is that I'm always going to question,
That's
do
your
I know
public
enough?
role, right? The
That's
on the
right.
unconscious side. And that itself was so good. And also like talk about the decision-making strategies. It's so different for everyone. Even understanding that was such a huge thing for you to now,
Yes.
yeah, talk about that a little bit. Because I will be, so just so that everybody knows, and for yourself as well, Jodie, as I walk through the three main pillars of reflect, transform, and lead boldly through the three-part framework of the Leadership Liberation Accelerator to help people liberate with your struggles to that next leadership role that they want to step into. My goal is here to truly walk through the emotional center, to walk to the identity center, and to walk to the conceptualization center. So, talk about that a little bit on how important it is to understand your decision making strategy, right? Because and we'll talk a little bit more throughout the episodes, but here just for now, really simplify it on like what was that breakthrough just understanding that?
So yeah, so um, what was happening was that I was working against myself really until I was able to understand the ways that I needed to move forward, the decisions I needed to make, how I needed to make them, that what I needed to do to present myself to people. The human design and gives all of that. It says, you know, how to if you for me, if people believe, if I believe what I'm saying
Yeah,
and other people believe what I'm saying,
it's
then
gold. Yeah.
it is absolutely people are going to come with me for the ride.
Yes.
Um, and
Yes.
things. They're going to come along. They're going to say, yes, I want to. And that was a really big breakthrough for me. As I keep saying to you at times, Dina, I can sell ice to Eskimos
Yeah.
if I believe it.
Yes, yes.
And
You're
and
true.
I
I mean, you're deeply passionate. If you like
absolutely,
something that you are going to give your soul, your 1,000%, I mean, you are deeply passionate person
yeah,
and you're determined. You never want to give up. You're like, you want to persevere, you want to have
yeah,
consistency, you want to have the momentum, and you are someone who want to go all in.
yeah,
Would you agree that human design has helped you with that clarity piece? And also, let's be honest, don't you feel deeply this is a kind of a healing modality as well to what you've been through? Because some of it is a huge
absolutely.
confirmation.
Yeah, definitely. Because until we picked up human design,
Yeah,
I was still like,
right.
not sure.
Something was missing. Yeah,
Something
I
was
knew
missing.
like
It didn't
something was
click.
there. Yeah. Because we
That's
did
right. And it's
12 modules on emotional mastery, we did the stress
yep,
response, we did it all, but something was not still clicking to like deeply personalize it to who are you? Like, what is
yes,
your next path? Why did this happen to you? Like, literally stepping into the gift side of your gene keys and not just being in the shadow side of it. Would you
that's
agree?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went from the why me, why
Yes.
did this happen to me, to the understanding of, well, it had to. I wouldn't have gotten out of the situation if it hadn't happened.
Yes.
And so, although, it was very traumatic,
Right.
it had to. And I could see that in my human design that I didn't
Yes.
have an option. I could have kept going as I was until, I had a
Yeah.
breakdown or whatever. Um, but what I also found was that my team below me all resigned within two
That was
weeks
a
of what had
shocking thing. Yes.
happened. They left. So the executive, so my CEO lost the most senior clinical person, and then his middle management of clinical team, all
Yes.
gone and still haven't really been replaced 12 months later.
And
But
they're all
that,
at very good place in their life right now.
oh, they've gone on to bigger and better things,
Yes.
which was, I
Yes.
guess, one of the things that was helping me through this loss and grief was
Yeah.
that the team that I had worked so much with to build up
Yeah.
themselves
Yeah.
had gone on to bigger and better. And that for
Yeah.
me was like my
A
mama bear felt
Right. A little
I'd
bit of
done the
like
right thing.
calm and that you
Yeah,
did the right thing.
that's
Exactly.
right. So,
Um,
and I
mhm.
know some of them have gone on to work with you as
Yes.
well, Dean, with their human
Yes.
design.
Now they're learning human
Um,
design exactly, and
yeah,
they're in so much better place. They've stepped into the new
yep,
leadership role, maybe where they're working for a different company, but they
yep,
feel their authority that is being respected
absolutely.
well, and they're leaving a better impact to, with others. So,
That's
um,
right. So
yeah. So
yeah, they're
thank you.
using their
Yeah,
human
thank you for
design.
accepting
Yeah,
that call, Jody. I know it was very traumatizing and very like dramatic in a way that you had to leave, and it was quite a bit that you had to go through in terms of like you felt deeply disconnected and depersonalized and
Yeah.
dissociated from who you were. Like you said, you lost your identity. But seeing
Yep.
this now, seeing you on the other side,
I
oh
know.
my
It's
goodness,
huge.
it
It's
is
huge.
so
I am
huge. And
driven.
I,
I know exactly what I want to do. When I've
yeah,
spoken to people about it, they're like, this is awesome. This is what needs, we need this.
yeah,
And so, yeah, so I'm feeling really empowered, really,
so
people
good.
are behind me saying, let's get this going. I'm
Yeah.
using my human design when I'm making decisions. I look at it and go, okay, what do I need to do? What is the
Yes.
best way for me to
To
portray
move
myself?
forward. Yes.
And
Even with the strategic partnership connections or with
yeah,
negotiations or even, with thought leadership, right? I mean, this is
that's right.
huge for leaders. If you know how to
Yes,
operate well and you're not showing resistance, but it's like kind of flowing through you, this is success.
absolutely.
This is what we're
It
talking
is.
about.
And I'd be saying to others that leaders that are feeling, they're in an executive type
Yeah.
or just management area, they're not happy with what they're doing, they're
Yeah.
having being questioned, they're thinking about getting out. I'd be saying absolutely join with you, look
Yeah.
at their human design, and work through what it is. It will happen because, it did for me.
Yeah.
And that's that really the only thing that's happened along my journey to get me to where I am. The only change that kind of pulled me out of that sitting there resonating on everything was working with my human design. Once
Yeah.
we
So
did
happy to
that,
hear that.
the
Yes.
clarity was just there. I,
Yeah.
I knew in the back of my mind, I knew I needed to still work with people because
Right.
I've always been a people person, as I
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how I
What
was
is the
going to do that.
right path for you?
That's right.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
didn't really have that self-belief if I could do it again. Like I did it in my early 30s
Yeah.
and with a young family, and I didn't
Yeah.
question myself. And
Yeah.
here I am in my mid 50s going, are you a nutter? Can you really do this?
And you're
And
just
you,
getting started, Jodie. I
I
just
know,
made the
and
fire and you're like, let's go.
crazy. And Dina, you kept pushing me and going, you can do it,
Yeah.
you can do it. And your vibrancy, I think, also made the big
Yeah.
difference was you
Oh,
were
thank
right
you.
there.
Yeah.
And you were like, you could do this. And you also pulled at my pain points. Don't believe that if you go with Dina and do this human design, which I
Yeah.
absolutely recommend, she's not going to let you off easily. She will pull at your pain points,
Yeah.
and things like that, which is good because you need someone else who is
Yes.
sort of that away from you that can do that, that can reflect back at you. As um,
Yes.
Dina will probably say,
I'm a
she's a
1%
reflector.
unicorn, being a reflector type in
Absolutely.
human design, and that's my
Reflector.
genius and
And
my gift. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what she does. She reflects back at you
Mhm.
and you go and gives you the aha moments. And yeah, I'm loving human design. I'm
Oh,
looking into it. I'm even looking at it for my children and trying to
yeah.
understand why my adult children are why they
Yeah.
are. And
It's
they're all
gold.
different
It's
to
so
me,
good.
their human design. And it's
Yes.
just once you get onto it, yeah,
It
you
just
just love
gets
it.
so like obsessive. I'm so obsessed
It
with my
does
design. That's my goal,
in
to
a good
help
way.
people get so obsessed, starting them that they have something to now look at, to rely, to study. Because again, like Jodie shared, there are some aha moments, during our coaching, or even for listeners listening to the podcast, there will be. But when you have that report, when everything will be like silenced and you're just going inwards, right? That's where the true magic begins. That's where the breakthroughs
Yeah.
are. So thank you, Jodie. This was so helpful. I really appreciate you so very much. And I'm really looking forward. I truly believe 2025 is the breakthrough year for us. Do you believe that?
I do, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
going places this year, and yeah,
Yes, let's go. And the
absolutely.
spark is on. And thank you everybody for listening.